targets, because we had the list of the targets last night. Tonight, we know that the attacks are happening between the two sides. Iran is attacking Kuwait, and there was an attack on a bridge between Shiraz and Bandar Abbas. And let me bring the map here. Last night, what we've heard, it was all these locations that you see on the map from in the western part of Iran, going to the southern part of Iran. All these, you know, air defense systems were activated. There was no explosion reported, but one explosion was in Ahvaz. It was a
near
hospital.
The cancer hospital for children, right?
Exactly. That was the explosion in the city of Ahvaz. Since I'm from that city, it's so important, when something like this happens, I literally call to see what was happening and how serious was that. But it seems that everything's fine right now. But they hit some targets so close to the hospital, it damaged the hospital some way. And the other part, the other map is this one, Larry. The targets that Iran hit, these are going, from Bahrain to Kuwait, and you see all these radars. The gathering of American soldiers in Oman was reported today and yesterday. It was a hotel in Oman which was targeted. The crown of the hotel was targeted. It said the American soldiers were there, that Iran hit that building. So these are the targets that Iran is attacking. And I talked with Pepe today, and he said maybe in the coming hours or the coming 2 days, we're going to have something big coming up. What is your understanding of that? Are we going to see something big happening, all out war, or something of that sort?
Well, I think the Majlis, I forget the specific official that made the statement last week, I believe it was, but that Iran's likely, they said, if the United States attacks us, Iran's got 3 courses of action. Shut the Strait, Bab el-Mandab Strait, reassess Iran's nuclear policy, and 3, withdraw from the NPT. So to say that you can sit down and reassess your policy, well, what's to reassess? Either you're going to have a nuke or you're not going to have a nuke. Right now, you're not having a nuke. So I take that as meaning that they're going to look seriously at developing a nuke. That's how I interpret it.
Yeah. There's some sort of discussions in the parliament, as you call it, Majlis. They call it in Iran Majlis, and which is
okay.
the parliament. Yeah, and then all these members are somehow unanimously agree on some sort of move when it comes to the Iranian nuclear program. Maybe doing something with NPT. Maybe, I don't know. When it comes to, we don't have the details of the discussions, but basically there were 2 resolutions in Majlis, and one of them was basically focusing on the nuclear program. I think the main objective is NPT and what would be the nature of the maybe talks if something happens in the future, or if Iran want to talk about those things. It seems that the whole situation is so negative, they don't want to talk about it anymore.
What's to talk about? U.S. has not fulfilled a single one of its pledges under the MOU. I know it did the initiative, lifted the blockade, lifted sanctions on oil, and then it reimposed the sanctions on oil, and now it's reimposed the blockade. So U.S. didn't agree to anything. And it gets down to, are they going to unfreeze assets? So I'm sure Iran's going to have a number of demands that, I expect by this weekend, Pakistan's going to come begging Iran to get back involved negotiate with the United States, talk to the United States. And I think Iran's going to say, the only time we'll talk to them is when they unfreeze, show us the money, lift the sanctions, and get Israel to pull out of southern Lebanon. I think actually the most dramatic change in the tactical situation, well, let's call it the strategic situation, is that Iran is now using the Baidu system. China has developed its own proprietary GPS system, what Americans know as GPS. And that is apparently last June during the 12-day war, Iran was using GPS, and the United States and Israel were spoofing it. So missiles that were programmed to hit a particular target were actually getting wrong target information. And as a result, a lot of the Iranian strikes went awry. They didn't hit what they were supposed to because the United States was spoofing them. Now that is completely different, and Iran is hitting what they intend to hit.
Yeah. It means that they have started using this Baidu, whatever it is. The name is Baidu, yeah? Bidu?
Yeah, Baidu, I think, yes.
Yeah. I assume Russia is using that as well.
I don't know if Russia is using that or has its own proprietary system, but what we do know is, at least in Iran, they are using the Chinese system.
Yeah. The Pakistani sources, it seems that they're receiving a lot of phone call or talks, or they're having some sort of discussions with Donald Trump because he's asking for doing something. I don't know what is he asking for. And what is that? What does he want? Do you understand what does he want from Pakistan to do? Nothing there anymore.
Yeah. Well, have you heard any reports today that Trump is reaching out to Pakistan?
Pepe today told me that
Okay.
Pakistan is receiving multiple calls from Donald Trump and his administration talking about doing something with Iran.
Okay.
That's the only source that I have. He told me today.
Yeah, he wants Iran to surrender or make it look like they surrendered and that Trump gets to declare victory. Not going to happen. I think Iran has reached its limit of patience with the United States.
Are GCC countries risking everything, Larry, in this war? Are they prepared to risk everything?
Well, I don't know if they're prepared to risk everything, but everything certainly is on the line. Let's put it that way. So they've got to decide, which team they're going to play for. Team Islam or Team America. I think playing for Team America is a highly, highly risky enterprise.
Do you see unity among them, or you still see the division? Or
it's still every country for itself. There's no unity there at all. The Saudis hate the Emiratis, Kuwaitis hate the Qataris. There's no foundation of unity there at all.
there are reports today and yesterday coming out that GCC countries, Saudi Arabia, for example, is cooperating with the United States with the targets in Iran, or they want to get more involved in the attacks. Today we had a report that a drone from UAE went to Iran to do something. And then the Israeli media is talking about Qatar somehow wants to participate, to be part of the attacks. Then the Qatari government coming out and say, no, we're not, it's all false. We're not going to do anything against Iran. Is that some sort of propaganda from Israelis, or there is something going on?
Well, inevitably in this kind of conflict, you're going to get lots of propaganda and misinformation being put out by a variety of sides. So I can't pinpoint say that's Israel or that's not Israel. We just let's watch what people do. And so far, tonight it looks like Iran is still targeting Kuwait and Bahrain. Those are the two principal targets. But also expect they're going to be launching on Jordan again as well, hitting those two air bases. That's what they got to do. Take those air bases out, and the United States is going to have to move.
They had Patriot systems in Iraq, Larry, which were hit by Iranian missiles. And the footage came out today showing that I remember last night we talked, I asked you if the the air base in Iraq of is important, and you mentioned that they have something there. And here is today what it came out today. This is the location of those Patriot systems that were hit. Let me just look at this. Yeah, this is the region that was hit by Iranian missiles.
Yeah, it doesn't really show anything. This shows a change in color.
Yeah,
So,
changing color. Nothing
some of these Telegram channels say, "Oh, here's a missile being intercepted," and then you click on the video and it's nothing.
No.
So, some of the titles are just clickbait.
I haven't seen any interception. No video in the recent days. No video of interception by any of these air defense systems. I was wondering if there are Patriot systems in GCC countries anymore, or they have the interceptors.
It doesn't matter. They don't work. Okay, so they may have Patriot 3s, but they don't work against the ballistic missiles.
The United States today started the new wave of attacks at 2 p.m. Larry, Eastern time, your time,
which is 9:30 p.m. Iran time, right?
Yeah, exactly. 9:30. Exactly. And they is still the only, the only case I see in the Persian media, or maybe those people who are trying to talk about these attacks, they're basically talking about maybe the United States is preparing for some sort of ground invasion from Iraqi Kurdistan, not from the Persian Gulf.
Yeah, that's not nonsense. Where are those troops based? Huh? The Iran's, Russia, China. Somebody's gonna, if you got any kind of invading force, how many guys we're talking about? 100? That's not an invasion. That's a raid. That's harassment. That's nothing. If you're gonna invade, you better be looking on the order of, 500,000, 700,000 soldiers. The United States doesn't have that many.
Then is there any line of communication from the Pakistani sources that you hear from? Is there any line of communication, active communications between Iran and the United States? They said that there is a hotline between the two, which was rejected later on by Iranians. Said there is nothing going on.
Yeah.
But how about the Pakistani people?
Well, communications are relayed via Pakistan. Iran talks to Pakistan. Pakistan talks to the United States. United States talks to Pakistan. Pakistan talks to Iran. So they're going through a cutout. Sometimes Qatar gets involved there too.
Pakistan is somehow, their position is somehow tricky because they have a treaty or somehow military alliance with Saudi Arabia. On the other hand, they said they have troops on the ground in Saudi Arabia defending Saudi Arabia. If something happens between Yemen and Saudi Arabia, it seems, as Reuters reported, they're gonna fight against Yemenis. My question is, what sort of difference can they bring to the battlefield defending Saudi Arabia if we assume that they want to support or defend Saudi Arabia?
Yeah, it is if if Pakistan does that, they will have completely disqualified themselves as a mediator. And, then this war takes a whole new spin. And they're going to shut down the Bab el Mandab Strait, and they're going to blow up, the Houthis will blow up Yanbu. And then Saudi Arabia, they'll probably have to also go after the pipeline. And then Saudi Arabia's in a world of hurt, but it's its own damn fault.
But what else can they do for Saudi Arabia? Last time, the United States, together with Saudi Arabia and UAE, tried to, somehow defeat Yemenis. They couldn't do it. What else can they do in favor of Saudi Arabia? That's my question.
Yeah, negotiate. That's what else they can do, but they refuse to do that.
Yeah,
that's the key.
Yeah, Larry, the case of Lebanon right now is one of the main concerns. We know that Donald Trump is communicating and talking, as they've been mentioning in the mainstream media, with Benjamin Netanyahu, and he's talking with the Lebanese government. Do you see any reason to believe that something going to happen between the two sides, Lebanon and Israel?
No. I mean, whatever agreement Joseph Aoun reaches with Israel is irrelevant. It doesn't include Hezbollah. You've got to include Hezbollah. If you're going to get a negotiated settlement, you're going to have to talk to Hezbollah. No other way. A settlement for Lebanon has got to have Hezbollah. And as long as Israel pretends that it doesn't have to talk to them, these are just meaningless diplomatic meetings.
Yeah. It's serious for Iranians because today the advisor to the supreme leader, military advisor to the supreme leader of Iran, said that they have reached a significant decision in Iran. If Syria does something against Hezbollah, against Lebanon, they're going to hit directly Damascus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sounds pretty clear. And I don't see al-Shara wanting to embroil his guys in a new war with Hezbollah. It didn't, because that'll bring, as you said, it'll bring in Iran, and that didn't turn out well for ISIS and al-Nusra last time that happened.
Larry, do you see any sort of role for Turkey in what's going on in Africa, in Sahel? Because he sent some of these forces in Syria to the Sahel, in Africa. Well, I was wondering, what is the role of Turkey in all of the mess that is happening in Africa?
They're going to, I'm not sure who they're aligning with, say in Mali or Niger. Turkey ought to stay home and figure out get its own house in order first, particularly its relationship with Israel. Cut off the Azerbaijani oil and force Israel out of southern Lebanon. But Erdogan's making too much money off of that so far.
Yeah, it's a deal between Azerbaijan and Israel, but they can do something. Well, Erdogan is not going to do anything. I don't see.
No, he's a gas bag, hot air, nothing else. He threatens to act, he never acts.
Yeah. Even though he has a good relationship with Qatar, but that doesn't change the case of the problems that they're facing. In my opinion, the only country on that side that can do something about Israel is Turkey. But Azerbaijan is so strange, Larry. The most strange country in the region is Azerbaijan. They're mostly Shia, and if I'm not mistaken, they're mostly Shia. Yeah, Azeris are mostly Shia.
That's where Khamenei came from. I mean, he's Azeri.
Yeah.
So,
and they're basically doing totally against the whole concept of Shia. And
They've sold out. They've sold out to the West. Aliyev sold out to the West, and he's going to remain a problem. And I think Russia's still got the resources to control him. If nothing else, you can get to a point where they'll shut down his ability to supply oil. They just take out the oil fields.